So we have survived, Baruch Hashem, another week, which we cannot take for granted in this day and age. Someone told me that Bank of America is introducing a pilot program where next to their ATM machines, they're going to have some type of a communication system. If you want to, you can speak to a teller. And I think that if this is a very innovative idea, and eventually they may do something very drastic, and that is to create a whole matzif that you can actually make a deposit by a teller and a withdrawal. I think one day someone's going to think of that. You're going to see that one day people are going to think of many other things, like a phone that's attached to a wall. Imagine all the miles that's going to have. You can't lose it. You can't use it to blow up buildings. The big department stores can't track you, which aisle you're walking down. They do sometimes with a cell phone in your pocket. It won't play music in the middle of mincha. That's. I was in a shul someplace. They said there's an $18 knas if your phone goes off in the middle. They said that there's an $18 knas. Right, and I was davening there, and sure enough, someone's phone went off. Everyone applauded in the middle of Shmona Esrei. It seems that it was the Rabbi who came up with this idea of the $18 knas. His phone was the one that went off. So I don't know what's better, a phone going off or people applauding in the middle of Shmona Esrei. Not quite sure. Reminded me of a story. They say in Williamsburg in the early years there was a Rabbi. He was like a Mohammed, and he was driving everyone batty. Hangers here, coat here, put that siddur back. What's like this? Your kid playing outside? Put that towel back. And it was a real hot day, and he wouldn't let them open the window. And one guy just got into such a fight with him, he gave him a slap, and everyone applauded. And when they told the Satmar Rav Zecher Tzadik Livracha about it, so he was very upset. It should happen on Rosh Hashanah. So he ordered every single member of the shul to give this person $1. So in those days, $1 added up, but it was more it restored his honor. So a man came to the Rebbe. He said, I'm a member of the shul, but I wasn't there. I didn't applaud. I wasn't there when it happened. Do I also have to give $1? So he told him, yes. So he said, but Rebbe, I wasn't there. He said, when you heard that he got slapped, did you smile? He said, yeah. Well, for that you have to give $1. Okay. I was once in a shul, I kid you not, and the guy's phone starts ringing, and everyone goes, nee, and you never find your phone when it's ringing in the middle of the Shemesser. It's like he's looking in all his pockets and his back and forth. Nee. This biggest guy was screaming, nee. Finally the guy realized it was his phone that was ringing, not the other guy's phone. But I was once in a place where it started, this guy's phone is ringing, and he had like one of those recorded messages for each ring. So he had, when his children called him, there was a recording that said, Tati, please pick up. Tati, please pick up. Now, the way these things go, it starts out low and it gets louder and louder. So this poor guy is like, Tati, please, no, Tati, please pick up. And as he's like desperately going through his pockets, he's fumbling with the phone, and he drops it, and it falls like, 5 feet away from him. He's in the middle of Shemona Esrei, and he can't. It's going, Tati, please pick up. Tati, no, poor guy. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone should be very careful to turn off their phones before you come down. But the guy, his phone is already ringing. He's not happy that his phone is ringing in the middle of. You go over to him afterwards and say, make sure it doesn't happen again. And indeed, there should be a big sign reminding people it shouldn't happen again. But when the guy's in trouble, don't knee him so much. Help him. So I went over to him. I told him that it was very motivating in Middle Shemona Esrei. Think about this: a recording from somewhere, Middle Shemona Esrei. Tata, pick up, Tata. Like, what better message could you have in the middle of Shmona Esrei? Tata and him will pick up. So again, if somebody would only invent this thing, a phone connected to a wall with a wire, it would solve all these problems. I always said to somebody, I was telling my kids in class, I wish somebody one day would invent chalk and a blackboard. You know what I mean? It won't dry out when you leave the markers out. And the smart boards, forget about that. The smart boards make you look very foolish. I realize that. You work and you set the whole chart up. You got it all set, and then someone closes the fuse or the fuse blows, which is common in some yeshivas, and there goes all your work. Right? Got to start again from the beginning. That didn't happen with blackboards. You're going to see one day someone's going to invent a blackboard. You know what else someone has to invent one day? a car window that goes up and down by turning a handle. That would be, I mean, you know how many kids get their heads stuck in these electric windows up, down? You know, if you could only have that, it would be such an gewaltige Sache. Think about exercise you would get, going up or going down. Right. Especially my windows, which sometimes either they go down or they won't go back up, or they go up and they don't go back down, or it gets stuck in the middle, one of those things, or it goes down even when no one presses anything, like, who's in this car? Like, you know. I remember when these first electric windows first came up, I was a little kid in the back and wanted so badly to press the button, and the lady was driving. No. Still to this day, I feel. But I remember once I was in the front seat. It was a rented car, and I was in the front seat. And I wasn't used to. Definitely, it used to be the driver had one. The back, the passengers had to crank it. And then finally, everyone had electric one. Then they came up with a bigger chiddush that the driver can control all 4 windows. So what happened was, we pulled up to a toll booth. This is before Easy Pass days. And I was going to Monsey. There were 2 people in the back. We were going to a chasana, 2 elderly people. And we pulled up to the toll. And I tried to open my window to pay the toll. But by mistake, I opened the window in back. And the guy said, yeah, sure. No, it's okay. And he started taking out the money. And I said, no, it's okay. And he goes, no, it's okay. I got it. No, it's fine. You have every right to ask for it. No, really, I pressed the wrong button. I understand. Right. No, that's okay, you know. Then I hear him telling his wife, chutzpah, you know. I think one day, really, imagine somebody invents it. You want water, hot water, imagine, a pot. You put the water in and you put it on a stove. Can you imagine? You can't blow up a building with it. No, you won't. It doesn't blow the fuse. It's, I think that the basics in life that we want to appreciate, and I can go on and on with this, but we'll just leave it at that. I have many times told you the story. I think we do it once a month. But it's just such an important story, where in the times of Shaila Karastira, there was a Yid who wasn't feeling well, and he had a certain stomach disease. He went to Rav Shaila. Shaila told him, Shmir Shabbos? Well, till now I wasn't too, you're going to be Shmir Shabbos? Yeah! Kashrus? Yeah! Okay? And drink a black coffee, you're going to get better. Because black coffee is the worst thing for this. Drink a black coffee, you're going to get better. He drinks a black coffee, he's healed. You know, a neighbor of his comes out with the same stomach virus, and he says, why do I got to go to Reb Shaila? It'll make me crazy. I should become a Shmir Shabbos and all that other stuff. I know where to get black coffee. So he drinks a black coffee and clutches his stomach. His face turns beet red, keels over in pain. They rush him to the hospital. The doctor says, you're mad. You committed suicide. Everyone knows you can't drink black coffee. I'm not even going to try to heal you. And there he is. He's laying, withering in pain. He asks they should take him to Reb Shaila Karastira. They carry him on a stretcher. And Reb Shaila, he says to him, what did you do? So he says, you did what? He says, I had a black coffee. He says, black coffee! That's suicide! Everyone knows black coffee is the worst thing in the world for this. He goes, Reb, I'm sorry. Can you help me? Help me. Is there any hope for me? And at this point, I don't know. Please, I once heard you say there's no such a thing that at any point there's no hope for a person. He says, Shabbos? Yeah. Kashrus? Yeah. Shabbos, kashrus, absolutely. No problem. Putting on tefillin every day? Hey, that's not part of the deal. No, you want to do it? Yeah, putting on tefillin, you got it. Okay, what should I do now? Now he said, go drink a black coffee. It's not always the brand new inventions in life that are going to make our life easier. It is an attitude to what we have. You know, when part of the economy is the sale of homes, that we judge how the economy is doing. And the sale of homes is broken up into 3 parts. There's new home sales, there's existing home sales, and there's the construction of new homes, which we gauge the economy in different ways. There's a machlokes amongst economists, which is the most deciding factor. And many hold that the real measure of the economy is the sale of existing homes. More so than brand new homes, more so than construction sites. Where there's a shift in things that already exist, there's an attitude to what we have that represents a more solid, a slower growth, but a more solid foundation in the way of people think, more so than have these great ideas of how life is going to be so much easier. My mother, Leil Shalom, always used to say, she remembers somebody read them an article, that one day, she's a little girl in Poland, there's going to be this machine, and you connect it to a wall, Instead of having to sweep and sweep with a shovel and sweep with a shovel, you go and all the dirt comes flying in. And she said, can you imagine? Because she was always fighting with her brother who has to sweep up and mop up the floor. And my grandmother, Alel Shalom, said, you think life is going to be easier? You're going to fight who has to connect the machine and go bzz, 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 bzz. Now, she said one day she was in my house and my kids were fighting over who has to vacuum. She says, my mother predicted this. Life does not become easier with machines that become easier. Life becomes easier in terms of a certain attitude. In Adarabah, sometimes the more Mesiras Nefesh, the more difficult we have in the course of chores, then in a way life is more meaningful. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky, so he says that the Chazon Ish once asked him, when you were in Siberia, he was shipped off to Siberia. Why he was shipped off to Siberia, it's a long story. It's like anybody was shipped off to Siberia, just basically. They said the guy, he meets the guy in Siberia, one of the soldiers, he says, why are you here? He says, 20 years I got. For what? He goes, for doing absolutely nothing, I'm totally innocent. He said, liar, for that they only give 10 years over here. He says, why are you here? Right? Someone said in the old communist Russia, there was it was an open area, it was an exchange of ideas. You walked in to the KGB office and with one idea, and you came out with different ideas. There was an open exchange. There's sort of a guy that ran to the KGB office and said, someone stole my parrot. It's an emergency, a matter of life and death. They said, that's for the police, not for us. No, I came to tell you that what? My parrot has a mind of its own. You should know whatever he says. I don't agree with him. I want you to know that. Not my idea. So Rabbi Yaakov was shipped off to Siberia. And the Chazon Ish once asked him, one of the big chatoim that he did there, and the Chazon Ish asked him, how did you put on film? He says, notice, the Chazon Ish didn't ask me if I put on film. He said, how did you put on film? So he said that they burnt all the film. It was terrible. It was very painful. And he managed to hold on to a pier that was circulating amongst the Bachrim. He said they worked 14 hours a day, their feet up till their knees in the freezing snow. It's tough when the warmest day is 40 degrees below zero. And he says after 3 hours of work, they gave you a 20-minute break. They brought out a barrel of hot water. Everyone ran to the hot water to thaw out a little. He says they pulled out this secret pair of tefillin, and if you rolled up your sleeve, that was like very dangerously cold. There were times you can see the frostbite, and everyone lined up to say Shema and put on tefillin. So he said that the Chazon Ish told him, I am Mekana, your tefillin that you put on. So Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky always says, do you know how the Chazon Ish put on tefillin? Do you understand the Hidur mitzvah? And you can imagine what the Chazon Ish's tefillin looked like. You can imagine how he put on tefillin. And he's jealous of our tefillin that we just threw on and barely said Shema, because there's something to Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh, in a sense, kind of speaks for itself. So today was Pesach Sheni, still is, if you say Pesach goes into, technically speaking, if today is the day that we're makriv the Korban Pesach, so tonight we should have a Seder. In some places the minhag is to have a Seder, as a minhag, not of course as an actual Seder, that would be a Shiloh of Baal Taisif. So the people came along, and they said, Lama Nigara, why should we lose out? Because we're Tameh, we want a chance. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, let me hear what Hashem has to say. So I ask you a question. Moshe Rabbeinu was taught Kol Torah Kula when he was in Shemayim. That's what it says. In the 40 days, Moshe Rabbeinu was given a crash course in Kol HaTorah Kula, the entire Torah. As a matter of fact, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu was loymid v'shecheach, he learned and he forgot, ad shenitnu loy b'matana, until it was given to him as a gift. But the bottom line is Moshe Rabbeinu came down with Kol HaTorah Kula. So Kol HaTorah Kula includes the halachos of Pesach Sheni. So what do you mean he didn't know when they asked him what Pesach Sheni is? How could that be he didn't know? Same with the Bnei Salavchot. How could he not know? He forgot. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't forget. So what was the Lama Negara? And Moshe says, let me see what Hashem has to say. What do you mean? You didn't know till now? So the truth is that the Sfas Emes asks his kasha on every Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe Lamer, as we've mentioned earlier this year. What do you mean Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe Lamer? As if this is something new. Moshe was taught Kol HaTorah Kula when he was in Shemayim. This is nothing new. What's the Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe Lamer? So the Sfas Emes says that Moshe knew everything. What Moshe Rabbeinu was taught is how do you teach this to Klal Yisrael. Every Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe Lamer was not initiating to Moshe the halacha, teaching him something he never knew. He knew Kol HaTorah Kula and Shemayim. But Hashem said, but Moshe Rabbeinu was more concerned How do I teach this? This is how you should teach it to Klal Yisrael. Under these circumstances, Moshe knew about the Pesach Sheni, but now that they were toveyit for him, how do I respond? How does Hashem want me to convey this issue of Karban Pesach to them? And that's what he was waiting to hear. We'll try to explain this a little bit on a deeper level. Moshe Rabbeinu comes up to Shemayim to get the Torah, and the Malachim, the angels, want to eat him alive. They say, Mali Elurisha Beinenu, what's a mortal doing over here? Mortals don't belong here. This is the officers' club. This is the Malachim's club. Get out. And Moshe is like really scared, to the point where Hashem says, hold on to the Kisei HaKavod because they're going to burn you up alive. And debate them. Debate Malachim. They say, you're not taking the Torah down with you. And Moshe says to them, okay, what does it say in the Torah? Right? You have a father? Huh? You have a mother? Says you're not allowed to steal. Huh? You're allowed to steal? You have having a sign of stealing? You're a malachim. What do you have to steal for? You're right. You know? Hey, what does the Torah say? And the shmarta mikol davara? Does the Torah say the chesisa seyasecha? All that's human being stuff. Torah says you shouldn't be jealous of your friend's house, of your friend's wife. Well, you malachim have that? Okay, you made the point. Take the Torah. They're all so excited. They all bring the Torah, and everyone brings a present to Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, what was the havamim of the malachim? Like, what was the debate about? I mean, isn't this obvious? How do they want the Torah? So my father used to share this with me. It's Shtikl Mavuyer and the Ramban and others. The Nefesh HaChaim explains it this way. Everyone sitting over here has a guf, Baruch Hashem. And in your guf, there is a neshama. In your guf, there is neshama. You don't see it, but that is your life. That is your neshama. Somebody told me there was a little Yerushalayim dik kid, and he saw this, and one of the big maskilim came by and said to him, Yingala. He says, I'm sorry, I wish I could speak Hebrew to give it over in its full flavor, but he said to him, you have a neshama? He says, yeah. He says, Hashem gives me life to my neshama. He goes, you see a neshama? I see hands. I see a nose. You see a neshama? You know why? Because there's no such a thing as a neshama. Then what do you say, kid? So the kid says, do I see your brain? I don't see your brain. You know why? Because you don't have one. And he walked away. Shleim kids are the wrong kids to start up with. So we all have a neshama that gives life to our guf. Okay? Now, Zok Reb Chaim Belazner, the Nefesh HaChaim, that in a higher realm, in a higher world, your neshama, our neshama is guf. Because everything goes up. So what's even spiritual down here is physical in that higher realm. And if you go to a higher realm, that neshama becomes guf, and there's a neshama to that neshama. And if you go to a higher olam, that neshama becomes guf, because the higher you go, the more ruchnius, and the things that are ruchnius down here becomes gashmius up there. What's the famous story Rabbi Salamter made up when he got married. He said he's going to solve all shalom bayis problems. He made up with his wife that she makes all gashmiistic decisions, all physical decisions, and he makes all the ruchniistic decisions. He makes all the spiritual decisions. He said you never had an argument with your wife, only one argument. What's ruchnius and what's gashmius? Other than that, they had no arguments. So Reb Chaim Belazner is mas, but this keeps going higher and higher. In every higher realm, the guf becomes neshama. There's a neshama for that neshama. So when does it end? So he says it ends with Kaviyachal, the Rabbi Neshama himself, who is the neshama for the entire world. The Torah on the level of malachim, even the malachim themselves aren't all on the same level. There's Srafim, the Chayais, Vaifani HaKodesh. That's the three Kodesh from a different level. That's the Ata Kodesh. We say 3 times the word Kodesh. So the Malachim, they don't have Shar Shnagach Esapar. They don't have this halach. The Malachim, they don't have Hilchas Beis HaKisei. But that's Torah. Right? They don't have the halacha of Pidyon and Pater Chamar. But L'maisa, that is Torah. They have it on a much higher Shemais of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, names of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So their tiny to Moshe Rabbeinu was, you're going to take the Torah down to this world, and you're going to take the most lofty, heavenly Shemais names of Hashem, and it's when it comes down the ladder, more physical, and it reaches this world, there's going to be a din of Sharsh and Nagach Asapara, of an ox that gores a cow, and when the kids were born, that's what you're going to have? How dare you take the Torah and cast it into such a low level where it will assume such a physical form? What a denigration, what a downsizing of the beauty of Torah. Ma Yelurisha Beineinu. All right, so what's Moshe Rabbeinu's answer? You have a father, you have a mother? No, we don't have a father and mother, but Kibbut Avei means something else in Shemayim. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, listen here, Malachim, okay? I want to tell you something. You are so heavenly that if you were to come down here and we would even look at you, we would burn up. That's right. But that means nothing to Hashem. Because you have no bchira. You have no free choice. You never had to walk down Broadway in Manhattan and a bus came by and you closed your eyes. You never had that in Zion. You never had a choice of a job in Manhattan where you said, uh-oh, I work in this office, my ruchnius is going to go down, down, down. Or take a job in Brooklyn for a quarter of the price. You never had that in Zion. You never had that test. You never had Shalom Bayis Nisyonis. You never had Parnasa Nisyonis. You never came home after a bad day. You were hit so hard, so hard. Nothing went your way that day. I'd always said the price of gold came cascading down to the ground. All right? Silver's going down. Everything, the whole world markets are going cuckoo. And the Rebbeinu Shalom controls everything in different ways. So in Dubai, there's a machine. I was never there, and I hope never to be there. But there's a machine that sells gold blocks. You put in your credit card, you know. So how do you know how much the gold is worth? The gold is constantly changing. So the machine constantly adjusts it to the price of gold per ounce. So you can buy, one guy's online, and he buys gold for, buys the same necklace for $5,000. The next guy buys it for $4,000. The next guy buys it for $6,000. As the gold fluctuates. Two people do a mitzvah. We've said this mashal before. There's like Ruvain 1 and Ruvain 2. When Ruvain 1 wakes up in the morning, he feels so good. And he goes off to work. His wife gives him a nice smile, goodbye. And he goes to daven. He feels such a geschmack of davening. And he davens for the Amid. And people come over to him. They say, when you daven for the Amid, it is so beautiful. And he comes to work. And his boss calls him in and says, listen, Ruvain, you're doing such a good job. You can show up an hour later, leave an hour early. I'm giving you a tremendous bonus. And your sick days go from 10 to 20. You can be sick whenever you want. And vacation time is tripled. And you should know you're in for a major promotion. And the benefits is just not enough. We got to triple your benefits over here. Please, please. And anytime you want to use my office and my phone, it's all yours. And he's on his way home. And he gets a call from the Manal in his yeshiva. And he says, your son just did the greatest on the Bechina. He's like super, super duper. He's heading off. All the Shadchanim want his number. He's only 10 years old. Take it easy. Relax there a little bit. But I'm telling you, it doesn't get any better. He's about to walk into his house. He's coming up the stairs. He gets a call. Hello, I'm calling from Yeshiva Trumas Hadeshen, Chinese auction. Did you put in for the split the pot or whatever it is? He says, yeah. Well, you just won $50,000. He goes, and he comes aside and he smiles at his wife and kids. He says, Dam Zmar Gishmak. He comes home. There's a Meshulach from Yerushalayim. Gives him a nice donation. So his schar is unbelievable. Okay? Then you have Ruvain 2. Ruvain 2 wakes up in the morning. His wife says, Shlomo Asla, if you don't wake up, you're going to lose another job. That's his Moidani. Good morning. Gets up, trips into the Negelvasa, spills over the carpet. He gets his second bracha for the day. Comes to shul, davens to the Yom, this guy screaming and yelling, I'm a chayv, how dare you daven. The other guy comes over and says, if you have a voice like a frog, don't go over to the Yom. One guy tells him, too fast, slow down. He slows down. He says, too slow. He speeds up. He walks out. He leaves. He's totally mixed up. He goes running out. Gets to the job, the boss says, again you're late? And next time you don't use the copy machine without permission. Do you understand that? And by the way, I want you an hour earlier every day and you leave an hour late. Do you understand that? What? Paid vacation? Be happy I pay you for your work. Never mind your paid vacation. You know what I mean? It's very temporary, your employment. You better shape up. You understand that? Now get back to folding those papers over there down there. And on his way home, he gets a call from the Manal of his yeshiva. Yes, your kid broke another window. He is out. Do you understand? He is suspended. He should leave this yeshiva. He is gone. He is suspended for 3 weeks. You understand? He is expelled. He should never ever come back into this yeshiva again as long as he lives. And if he dares step in, I'm going to throw him out. You already threw him out. Clank! And as he's walking up home, he gets a call. Hello, we're from the Trumas Hadeshen Chinese auction. Yeah? You put in for the $50,000 split the pot golden treasure? Yeah? Your check bounced, please. Please give us the $36 plus the $18 charge. And he walks in and his wife says, the check's bounced, but you won't give me any food and everything else. And he goes off and he opens up the siddur. goes, Baruch Atah Hashem. He says, I don't know what you want. I'm trying. Hashem, I'm trying. I'm going to keep trying. And on the way home, this Yishlayim, the Gayit says, on the dove, it's the guy in the Zayah Shvei, yeah, he tell me about it. And he searches his pockets and he finds $1 and he gives it to him. Tell me, you know what the reward of that Ma'ariv is in Shemayim? You know what the reward of that $1 is in Shemayim? Do you know how much he's getting for his gold? So Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Malachim, you have the Nisyonis of this world. You know, it's true, you're on a much higher level. But what's the purpose? The purpose of all of this is Kiddush Hashem. And Kiddush Hashem is not what's high and lofty, not what's Kabbalah. Kiddush Hashem is Mesiras Nefesh. That's what Kiddush Hashem is. So the Yidden said by the carbon pass, by Pesach Sheni, they say, we want to do it. We want to do it. So you want to do it. You can't do it. You were telling me. What's your problem? You had a different mitzvah. No one else had a mitzvah. Machlaik is why they were telling me. Some say because they were busy with Nadav and Avihu. Some say they carried the bones of Yosef. So the Ber Moshe explains they felt they had a rod sign. We have a will to want to perform the mitzvah. It can't be. There has to be a way for us. So Moshe Rabbeinu understood this. That as low as the Torah goes, as tummy as a person is, there's a makim for him, and even a greater Kiddush Hashem in his matziv of Tumah. The Baal Shem Tov once sent someone to walk in the woods, and he watched a guy, he was a Yid, but Yana Yid v'imazakt. And he walked outside, he was dragging his old father, and the father kept tripping. And he picked up his axe, and he said, I've got the Lashon in Russian or Hungarian or whatever it was. He said, if God would let me, I would chop your head off. But God doesn't let, walked away. He said for him, that was a Kiddush Hashem. If anyone else would talk that way. But according to his level, according to the way he was raised, he was makrid that there's a Bari Olam. He held himself back. We don't understand this. There has to be a way out. So we learn, it says the Sefer Ber Moshe from the Urj of the Rebbe, Umizen Nilmoid from the Pesach Sheni, She'af Shemafurish B'Torah, She'kaparas Ha'avain Meyuchad L'Yom HaKippurim, L'chayra Kaparas Ha'avainis is only for Yom Kippur, She'boy who's man Tshuva, that's the time of Tshuva, but Yesh Tikva, there is hope, Gam B'Shar Yom Hashana. The Efshel Asakin Kala Pagomim Be'emtsois HaTshuva Shel Yom Hazmani, there never is a time that it's too late to do Tshuva. There is a way in. Moshe Rabbeinu knew that. He just had to know how to explain it to him. What somebody told me once, somebody said, what? He said to his Rosh Hashiva, where were you by Mincha? You don't take Mincha seriously. I don't take Mincha seriously! It's the first thing I do when I wake up! How can you say I don't take it seriously? You might see in this Shachris, you're not by Mincha. You pick up the piece, and you're not allowed to miss Shachris. And you're supposed to wake up on time. But don't let the Yetzirah say, because I miss Shachris, I miss Mincha. Says the Rav Shitzarav, the Torah is not Bashamayim. What does it mean the Torah is Lav Bashamayim? What does the Torah Lav Bashamayim? Right? It doesn't mean what the guy that was watching the movie on the flight over the Atlantic Ocean. He said, what are you doing? The Torah Lav Bashamayim. That's not what it means. Torah Lav Bashamayim means that the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I took the Torah, what are you doing? I took the Torah and I broke it down to its most physical form. So you should have access to it. Torah is Lav Hashanayim. What excuse do you have? Wherever you are, you're connected to the Torah. So Ma'aseh Shaya Kachaya, that there is a concentration camp, and there's a Banan Shel Kedoshim, there's a Rebbe, a guy, Rebbe, a kid, and he's desperately trying to work things out that they should have matzahs. They should make matzahs. And they managed to get some wheat somewhere, and with great Mesiras Nefesh. And one guy is the Shlemazel Nebuch, and it's his turn to eat the matzah, and boom, the capo walks in, and he beats the living daylights out of this guy. He's laying on the floor, bleeding. Then it came time, there was only one matzah left, because he took everything away. So who gets the matzah? The shiny Yid said, I get the matzah. This guy said, I was beaten for it, I get the matzah. So they said like this, the Yid, the Rebbe Shakid, he's going to eat the matzah, but the schus is going to go to the one that was beaten. L'maisa, he didn't survive the war, the one that ate the matzah. The one that was beaten did. Sometimes that's what beatings do for a person. We never know. So he lived in Bnei Brak, and he came to the Machanef Rebbe. He says, I have a dream. I have a dream, this man that died, that eventually died in the concentration camp, who ate the matzah, keeps coming to me. And he says, oh, come on, give me the schus of the matzah. Don't take it away from me. I need that schus. He says, should I give it to him? So first he went to a Rav. The Rav said, this is not exactly, got to ask a Rebbe. This is not a halacha shayla. So the Machanifka Rebbe said, yeah, give it to him. He says, Rebbe, I was beaten for this. So the Machnifke Rebbe said, yeah, but you could do it again. You're still down here in this world. You can get as many schusim as you can. You have to have Rachmanas on him. He can't get more schusim. He's up there. So here's my question. First of all, I thought if someone dies al Kiddush Hashem, that's the ultimate tikkun hanefesh. So why would he need more schusim? And second of all, he can get it again, but hopefully he's not going to be beaten again from matzah. So shtei tshuvas bedavar. That first of all, Kiddush Hashem is the ultimate tikkun. There's no Gehenna, no tainas on the person. But Mesiras Nefesh for a mitzvah is an extremely precious thing. That's a mitzvah. If you didn't have the Mesiras Nefesh, you didn't have the Mesiras Nefesh. And in as much as we say that this person is not going to have another opportunity to be beaten for a matzah, the ups and downs of everyday life is also Mesiras Nefesh. When you're not in the mood of davening and you daven, when you're not in the mood of smiling and you have questions in Amunah and you're still watching your eyes and you're still watching your ears, that's also Mesiras Nefesh. And maybe in a certain way, a bigger Mesiras Nefesh. A person goes through a crisis in life and it's hard to turn the page and go on. That's a bigger Mesiras Nefesh to go on. In the tragedies and the bombings, there's a certain phenomenon that's taking place over here. You're talking about a bomb that was created by, and I don't know exactly, but a pressure cooker that you buy for $25, suntan lotion, peanut butter, right? A couple of things that you can buy in any pharmacy that create bombs. I mean, they're not even talking about adding chont to this. Good thing they don't know about that. Can you imagine what that would do, right? Okay. Do you understand what's happening here? You see how the world is busy spending trillions on these super bombs, and maybe the message to us is everything in your life is either a bomb or a bracha. The simple pressure cooker in your house, everything on your shelf is either a bomb or a bracha. It depends how you view life. It depends whether or not you have an appreciation for everyday life. If you don't have an appreciation for everyday life, you're destroying your own life with the simple things in your life. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to Yeshua before he passed away, so Moshe Rabbeinu said, is there anything else you want to ask me? And Yeshua said, Rebbe, did I leave you for 1 minute? Rebbe, did I leave you for a second? I never left you for a second. Not for 1 second did I ever leave you. So Moshe felt a little bad, and Yeshua forgot 300 halachas and 700 sveikas. We have 700 sveikas. So, and he said, Hashem, could you answer me the shayla? I have a shayla. Hashem said, I can't answer you. I don't answer Nevi'im shaylas. Moshe Rabbeinu was the only Navi that I answered a shayla to. So, but they're going to kill me. So go to Muhammad. Now is that how we work? Listen, these guys are nudging me. Start a war. Oh, that'll solve the problem, right? How does that work? What does that mean? It means that Yeshua said to Moshe Rabbeinu, everything you said I know. I know every tshuva you ever wrote. I know every drasha you ever gave. I know every dvar Torah you ever said. But the reality is every person in the course of his life is going to face nunas yainis depending on my personal struggles. And there's going to be a new application to Torah. Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach wrote a sefer on electricity, or the Chazaynish Paskin, that a circuit is boina. The Torah was this aspect of Hilchas Boina was waiting for 3,000 years. And whatever Sveikos Rabbanim today you have to deal with, if you have to deal with a shayla, a guy flies to Australia and there's 3 days Rosh Chodesh because he say Hayal B'Yavah. These was all inclusive in what Moshe Rabbeinu did. But given the nature of our lives, it constantly changes, and that was Yeshua's mistake. Yeshua said, I got everything. And what Moshe was trying to say is no, because in your life there are going to be applications of Torah that weren't negayat in my life. Because your nesiyainis are different. And the Rabbi Shalom said, explain to Klal Yisrael in the course of their Milchama, things will come up. Things change on the basis of what our attitude to life is. We've often said this story, that a woman came to Rebbe Yashiv and she was crying, her husband was diagnosed with a machla, should she travel to America? And Rebbe Yashiv went through the things and said, no. And she accepted the psak, and before she walked out, she went over to Rebbe Yashiv and she said, I want to ask the Rav one more shayla. She said, according to what the Rav is telling me, she said, I'm going to be an almana, my children are going to be assignment. And when they're going to grow up, they're going to ask me a question, did I do everything for my husband that I could have done? Can I answer yes? Rabbi Yashiv said to her, go to America. Not only did he say go to America, it was Friday afternoon, he told the Yaskarim to arrange a flight for him Friday night and travel with him. Pekuach nefesh. So they asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky, a second ago, he paskin, don't do anything. And now he's saying go on Shabbos. He said once she took that position, what happens is, in Shemayim, the equation changes. The equation in our life changes based on what our attitude is, based on who we are, where we're going. You know, the Mishnah Berurah says he's supposed to be mechadish something on. I think it's Mishnah Berurah. He's supposed to be mechadish something on Shabbos. It's a big, tremendous chidushay Torah. Mechadish on Shabbos is a tremendous hanoah for the neshama, for the parents on Shabbos, Shaitan the Zoyer. Whatever, I'm not the person that can be mechadish things. I'm not a big Baal mechadish. So he suggests take a Kabbalah upon yourself each Shabbos. Every Shabbos a new Kabbalah. You know, this Shabbos I'll be up an hour late. Next Shabbos I'll wake up an hour earlier. And then after 3 weeks, I'm like, where do I go? If it goes my whole life. It's a new Kabbalah. It could be in terms of the attitude towards Shabbos. You don't have to. My life changes. The course of my life puts me at a crossroads. Either I accept with new courage what's coming, or it falls apart. But you have to listen to what's happening. So a gentleman told me this story. Hot off the press. It was a story happened many years ago. A friend of mine. He said he works in whatever he works in, a certain research field, and he lost his job. He lost his job, so there's something called a headhunter, which doesn't mean they tribe in some far out. It means they find you jobs. Why it's called headhunting, I'm not sure. And of course they get a commission, so he brings him to some government agency, and he says, "This is your guy." And he's sitting there, he needs a job desperately, and down comes a frum guy to interview him. So that works one way or another. Either he's going to be extra nice to him, or show, no, just the opposite, not effective. So he starts verhering him, and basically he knows the stuff. And there was one aspect of this project, the scientific edge of it, that he was not very well versed in. And when he saw his schwachkeit over there, that he didn't know that thing, he started explaining to me, I don't even know what to repeat. He said, "What? You don't know that? How dare you even come for a job if you don't even know that? What do you think coming off and applying for a government job?" I said, "But that doesn't really pertain so much to the job." "Yes, it does." And he watched the floor with him. And the headhunter was so angry, he said, "You lied on your resume, you're an Amaretz." He leaves. So he starts yelling at this guy. He says, "You don't want to hire me, don't hire me. What do you have to make fun of me? What do you have to destroy me like this?" Anyway, he says a few days later, he's learning Parshas Kedoshim with a 9-year-old boy. He says, "Lois, don't take Nekama, don't harbor any hate, Lois, don't harbor is Nekima." So what's Nekima, what's Netira? You give him an axe, I don't give you an axe. So the kid goes, let's say somebody doesn't hire you for a job, and later he comes to you for a job. You realize the talk in the house was so painful. The kid Nebuch is like, you're supposed to give him the job, and you shouldn't even say that he, so he writes it on the test, the Rebbe asks what Nekima, what Netira is, He's looking at this paper. Okay. So Galgal HaChayzer B'Olam, right? Money is called Zuz because it goes from one person to the other. A couple of years down the road, he has a fine job in a nice frum company, and he's working upstairs. And one day the boss comes over to him. He says, "There's somebody here for a new job, and applying for a new job, and the regular one that does the interview is not here. Do me a favor, go down and interview him. Tell me what you think about him. If he's good for this company." And he walks downstairs, and lo and behold, who is sitting there? The guy that interviewed him for the government job. And he says, "Okay, Meshachara Beis HaMikdash, Nevuah was given to little kids." And the guy did not recognize him. Many years had passed. He goes, "You think you can hire me?" And he said, "Of course. You're schwach in a certain area, but I'll be more than happy to train you in, my dear friend." He says, "My kid told me what to do." He says, "I felt like $1 trillion. Could any malach understand that Messiah? In 1 trillion years, a malach is not going to understand that Messiah. Now, think about what went on in the world in the last week and a half, right? We're all overwhelmed by what happened in Boston. It should be a refuah shalema for those that aren't well, and so on. Then we hear about this terrible explosion in Texas. And everyone starts talking about Boston. Because this was a massive explosion in Texas. There's, corporate America, is it safe? Who's in charge? Just on. Then we hear the terrorist in Boston is running around. And he's strapped to a thing, and he may blow anyone up, and he may come to New York. Yeah, and he's on the corner. I'm telling you, he's right here. I just saw him on 11 and 15. He's in the country. By Korean Avenue. Forget the company in Texas, right? Oh, we forgot about Texas. We're back to Boston. Oh, they caught the guy in Boston. Caught him in a ship in the backyard. Okay, ship in the backyard. Okay, anything can happen in the country. Okay, sorry. Let's start trying to figure that one out. Okay. So anyone accuses a ship parked in his backyard, is asking for trouble, if you ask me. Okay, forget about Boston. You heard? They arrested these guys in Toronto. They want to blow up a train on the way to New York. All right, Toronto. I'm not going to Toronto anymore. No more Toronto. No. See, we're running from one thing to the other. Tell me something. Do we know, it's kind of all the daigas negate each other. So the bottom line is, hey, our life is in your hands. This is the world. This is the reality of the world. We have to be able to deal with it. I told you about a famous Rosh Yeshiva. I don't want to say his name. That he was busy covering the payroll for his yeshiva, covering the payroll, going out of his mind. A family member told him, Rosh Yeshiva, calm down. He says, how can these people don't have what to eat? They were counting on the curling line. And he became sick. Rahman al-Islam. He was like, the doctors, this test, that test. He goes, my health. I can say about the payroll. How can I do? I can't take the payroll to deal with my health, Finally, after like 3 weeks of very intensive testing, they remember she was chayshish the worst. They came back, it was all a mistake. It's fine, you're healthy. He goes, I'm healthy? Yeah. What do you have to say? He goes, the payroll. Back to the payroll. He says, who was worried? He said, wait a second. Who was worried for the payroll till now, these 3 weeks? Whoever worried then should worry now. Right? We always go to the biggest worry that we are. It's the mitzias of who we are. Mind you, this Rosh Hashanah was not worrying for himself. He was worried for the klal. But we live in this kind of environment. So Hillel came home, and Hillel's here screaming. He says, it's not from my house. How does he know it's not from his house? No tzara ever happens to a tzaddik? There were stories. So there's a word from Rav Kreisworth. He didn't say that tzara is not in my house. But I train my family, you don't scream. You don't yell. Whatever it is you deal with. He said that's the yelling, that's how he knew that it doesn't come from his house. A lot easier said than done. So the truth is, there's a great article in Hamadiyah. So somebody quotes his dayan. So when the guy said something about what's going on in Boston Friday afternoon, he asked him what's going on in Boston. The whole tumult, the Tea Party, a long time ago, no? No. He's telling him what happened. So he says, I don't follow the news like that. He says, today there are people who constantly follow the news on a handheld advice, and your whole life is with an unnecessary tension and worry every 2 seconds. Back, forth. And never mind all the speculation that goes on. It becomes major headlines, right? Right away. Oh, police held a Saudi national. They arrested him. He's the bomber. They're holding him. Did that show you? He's the guy. This picture, that picture. And he's not the guy, So this life is destroyed. That life is destroyed. Right? Because big blazing headlines every 2 seconds afterwards you have to find it. Imagine if this guy, once you're accused, even if it's not true, can you ever clear your name afterwards? You're accused of sending poison to the president. By the way, it's not you. Your life is ruined. Right? Imagine someone read you a shidduch. Have a gewaldige bacher. Yeah? Yeah, you may have heard of him. Originally he was accused to have done the bomb, but then they said it's not him. So you want your daughter to go out with him? No. As a bomb for a bacher, I'm telling you, I know that's what I'm worried about. The headlines in our lives, it destroys everything. We're destroyed. Our life changes. With every pachad, our life changes. And you think we know what's really important to us? All the headlines that the stock market rolls, and the false headlines, true headlines, it's probably not negated to our lives anyway. Do we know? So is it the factory? Is it the Boston? You don't know what the real threats to your life is, neither do I. That's, Baruch Hashem, the Kadosh Baruch Hu keeps that from us. So what are we getting all excited? Why are we being pulled into this? But it's a world that changes because of pachad. And therefore we have to readjust ourselves to learn from Hillel. Relax, calm down. Let me deal with my Torah and mitzvahs. And every shul is a different Kabbalah Torah. Because it's a Kabbalah Torah in a different world. Torah doesn't change, but the application of Torah into the world requires a different element of Mesiras Nefesh. Let's say this guy, Richard Reed, that it was the shoe bomber, right? See, he wasn't successful in blowing up the plane. They caught him. He didn't do any damage. Except that 560 million people a year have to take off their shoes and put it back on because of what he did. 500, it takes about a minute to take your shoes on and off, according to some study I read, which means that America spends 1,065 years, right, every single year to take off their shoes. I don't know where they get this, that it's a minute, because it takes me 10 minutes. I got to put you, sir, with this bag, that bag. I never know where my shoes are. One shoe is there, one shoe is there. I got to stop putting it on. You know how many people spend more money on socks because they have to take off their shoes in the airport? It's not just the shoes. Missed flights, people running and tripping on shoelaces because they don't have time to think of the shoes. They said it adds up to billions and billions of dollars a year. Why? Because of a pachad that never materialized. It never materialized. So you have one person that tried to do something, and the entire world changes in billions of dollars every single year. So Chazal tell us that one mitzvah is machriya the entire world, either l'kav schos or l'kav chayiv. Right? We see how the world has never been so connected. It has never been so powerful what one event does. iPhones, smartphones, the nisyonis that we have, the level of nisyonis. It's mishunadik. You know, they said a story, this guy stole a phone and the police went after him. They said, you have this phone? No, I know what you're talking about. Going to the computer, you have the phone. No, it's not true. You're accusing me for nothing. And when the cop goes, he calls the phone, it starts ringing in his pants. Well, really? I thought you don't have the phone. You can't run away. You know, it's a world of cameras. Right? Chavetz Chaim said, when the telephone came out, our amunah is easier. Now we see, you say something here, it's heard up there. It's a world where almost wherever you are in the world, you're seen. Kairos Beisei Mi'iden Olav, we know where we are. The Rav Shitzarav was a very, they called him a batchen. He wasn't really a batchen the way we'd understand a batchen. There's a famous story once that he was traveling and he was fasting that day. And there was a chassan of a Yosem and a Yisayim, and they called him in, and his batchanes, everyone would laugh. They would be on the floor laughing. Then he would throw in his tshuva, he opened them up, and the people would start crying in tshuva. So every time he called somebody up, they gave him a glass of schnapps, but he was fasting then. So he made believe he was drinking, and he was really pouring it down his sleeve. And after he finished, he was mesameach, the chas and kala, they had to leave. And it was a freezing day, and he said the schnapps froze, and the schnapps not supposed to freeze, I guess it was mixed with water. He said he was sick for weeks afterwards. But he said that simchas chas and kala changed his life in his whole pchina. So the Rav Shesrav said many things that we have to understand. So they say like this, that somebody read him a shidduch, told him the bacher is a very fine, soft-mannered, charming bacher. So he said, there's a chash that he's into taivas then. Okay. We have a different bacher that's very, very frum. Frum? The galachim that are frum. He comes back to Schachter. We have another guy who's very smart. Smart? Could be a terrible ganef. So they said, so who are you looking for? He said, a fine, frum, smart bacher. That's what I'm looking for. I need someone that has all three. In other words, I need someone that has the awareness of his nisyonos, knows who he is, and can apply to life who he is. There's a shita in Masechtas Idyos that Mishpat Rishon beGehenim is only from Pesach to Atzeres. You hear? Gehenim is seasonal. It's right now, from Pesach to Atzeres. What a comforting thought. What does that mean? Gehenim is seasonable from Pesach to Atzeres? Says the Chedushay Arim. What do you think Gehenim is? Gehenim is God's revenge. Gehenim is to be mezachachas. It's to clear us. During these weeks, you have to rethink your life. They say that the piece of leather came to a din Torah. He said it's not fair. We both come from the same cow. One guy gets to be a pair of tefillin, and the other guy gets to be a shoe. It's not fair. We both grew up together. We're mamish the same cow. He said, no, there's a big difference. One was beaten and processed and beaten, and the other one was just a leather that was just shaped where it is. It depends who you are. But the emes says we're all beaten. It depends how we react to the beating. How do we deal with it? There was a Romanian dictator, it says in the Sefer Tufchi Abiyu. What was his name? The famous, I need him, David, that Romanian dictator many years. Yeah. So they say that his wife, she was a mamish Ameridik Vashti, Gilgal Vashti or something. So she got up one day and she saw one of their vacation homes. They built huge housing complexes for the poor, but it was blocking her view from the river. So she had all the houses thrown down. You know, let the people starve. I need my view of the river. They said every single day of her life, she got a new pair of shoes. She held shoes become pasul belina. So whenever they were ousted, they showed their shoes. There's hundreds of thousands or whatever, thousands of shoes. Said, compare that, Rothschild ordered a new pair of tefillin every single day, and he gave away the old one to poor people, and every day I got a new one. Right? Two people can arrive at the same level of fame, go through the hardships of growing, and one person gives and one person takes. And when you start taking, the more rich you are, there's no limit to how achzaris you can be, and the more rich you are, there's no limit to how much you can give. In everyone's mitzias. It's our choice if you want to be a Shu or a Sefer Torah. Says the Chedushay Arim, during the times of Svira, this is when you have to rethink your life, and you have to decide who you are. Who you are. Decide where you're going. What are you accomplishing? They came to the Malbim once. He was in Rav for 3 months in a certain town. He's leaving. Somebody asked him, why are you leaving? He said, because this is the first shayla I got in 3 months. That's why I'm leaving. He says, I'm here to accomplish something. And if not, I'm accomplishing the story. The Rav got up and said, Rabbi Isai, I'm leaving you. One person, no, don't leave us, don't leave us. He says, I promise you, my replacement will be as good as I am. He said, that's what the previous Rav said. They told him, This week is the Parasha of Mayadim. All the Yom Tovim are in Parasha Emor. It's brought down in the Svarim, it's a shtickle skula. You listen to the Balkaira. And you hear about Rosh Hashanah, you daven to Hashem to have a good Rosh Hashanah. You hear about Yom Kippur, you daven to Hashem to have a good Yom Kippur. You hear about Sukkot, you daven to Hashem to be b'simcha Sukkot. As you go through, let me do what has to be done in the course of the year, that I shape myself out to who I am. Even if Klal Yisrael makes a mistake, when they're Mechadish Levana, I think tonight's the last night for Chiddush Levana. In case anyone's listening to this tomorrow, you should know you missed it. But there's always next month. The Kazhin Samagid said like this. It says, Al Tikri Oisam Ela Atem. Atem Efila Shoygim, Atem Efila Mazidin. So for sure, where it says, Bonim Atem Lashem Alekechem. It's even Shoygim, even Mazidin, even if you made mistakes. So you have to hear this story. In Budapest, this person writes, he was hiding, dressed up like an Aryan, and there was a chas and kala before the war. They were terribly broken up when the war started. They were hiding out in Budapest. And the friends tried to make a chas and marry them off. Each time they did, it didn't work. At one point, primarily because they were all staying in one apartment, and the guy was paid off, they couldn't reveal to him that they were Jewish. They told him they're just Poles who ran away. And the owner of the apartment left Budapest, and then the Russians surrounded the city. He couldn't get back in. They said, now we can quickly make a chuppah. So they got 4 brooms and a stick, and they got a rav, they write up a ksuba, and they, with Mesiras Nevesh, put together food. They had only one problem. He had a neighbor that used to come knocking. They were scared this lady will come knocking. What then? They couldn't let her know that they're Jews. So they told the lady beforehand they're going to have a party because it's a Polish holiday. And they're standing by the chuppah, and he's about to make the bracha, and she comes knocking, hi guys! I want to see what this Polish holiday looks like. And down goes the broom, down goes Nebuch the Chas and Kala, and she sits with them for 2 hours, and they have to make believe like they're drunk, and they eat everything up, and she eats everything up, and they leave. And, okay, should we try again now? Okay, we'll try again. And boom, the Russians start bombarding the city. Windows are blown out, the building is changing. And the guy gets up and he says to her, you know what, we're going to show the Satan. Nothing is going our way. The building is blowing up. You're going to get married. And under the bombardment, they made the chuppah. Think about that story. It had to be one of your babas, one of your zaydas, from the Churban to the Inquisition to the Crusades to Chelmitzky, World War I, World War II, personal crisis. If you're here, just think about this. One of your grandparents had this Mesiras Nefesh to get married. This is my matzav. It's a crazy matzav of Mesiras Nefesh. Life goes on. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Malachim. Hey guys, you have no clue what it's all about. I want to conclude with this story. So Rabbi Yaakov Galinsky said that before his mother, I think she was an almana, I'm not sure, but she was alone, and she saved up every kopek. He should go and learn Torah. And when she was sending him off to yeshiva, she said, Ma, you're not going to see me. There's no postcards, no text messaging, no emails, no fax machine, no nothing. She said, if you come back and you'll kiss my hands, you'll be a ben Torah, all my years of loneliness will be worth it. And she sent him off. And he came to Lithuania, and the war broke out, and it was divided. They were on the Russian side, and they refused to accept Russian citizenship, Kafir Ras Chacham, because that would have meant never coming out of Russia, communist Russia, and they were sent off to Siberia. And in Siberia, he went through Shiva Madira Gehenna. And what kept him alive was that one day he's going to come back and kiss his mother's hand and said, Ma, I put on tefillin every day, it was Shem Shabbos, it worked. And after the war, they came back from Siberia, they thought it was Gehenna. They realized that what the other people went out, this was Gan Eden compared to that. And he comes home and he said, your mother didn't even make it into the train. She was killed on the way in. He said his life went through the floor. This is what he lived for, to come back and kiss his mother's hand and say, I'm a ben Torah. He said it came to Eretz Yisrael, he was a Tzibrach, and he was a Shever Keli. He went into the Chazaynish. So the Chazaynish says, what's your feelings? He says, I want to give up. He says, you want to give up? Says the Chazaynish, I want to tell you a story. That Beryl used to collect money from all the people in the neighboring towns, and Beryl would go to the Yerid in Leipzig and buy his chickens and his goats and bring it back, and the whole town had Parnasa the entire year. And every year more and more people gave him money. Now he had more money than from all the neighboring villages. On the day of the thing, he falls down, he breaks his leg, he can't go. He tells his wife, Rivka, you go. Me? I don't know the first thing about marketplaces. Go, you gotta go. She goes, she's standing there, she sees hundreds of people going back and forth, they're haggling, they're screaming, she's overwhelmed, she faints. Water, splashing water here, there. She wakes up. They have Rahmanis on her. What happened? My husband's sick. I don't know what to do. They help her. They buy all the schayra, 3,000 ruble. She looks into her bag. No money. And she cries. the money's lost. It'll never be found. I'm finished the rest of my life. Calm down, calm down. They say, one guy comes along and says, don't worry, I know where the money is. I saw Mechel take the money when you fainted. Really? They run to Mechel. Mechel, you took the money? Uh-huh. Yeah? Give it back. Uh-uh. What do you mean no? Mechel's a lamdan. It's this type of a city. She was miyayish herself. She said she gives up hope. Money has no simon. I picked it up. The money's mine. How dare you? You're disgusting. You're a Russia. You're an Akhzar. True. And I also rich. Can't force me to give the money. I should be a nice guy and give it back. So I'm not nice. So they took him to Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan, it was the closest there in Kovna, and he tells Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan, you can't force me to give back the money. According to Shulchan Aruch, it's mine. So Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan said, why is it yours? She was miyayish herself. I heard her say, Ve'el l'chasar and kiss, the money's lost. He said, you're making a mistake. It's not her money. She can't be miyayish herself on it. You could only give up a money that's yours. The money belongs to the villagers. So her yish doesn't count. Now return the money. So the Chazon Ish told Rabbi Yaakov, do you know the Mesiras Nefesh of your parents? You should be here in Eretz Yisrael. Your life is not yours. It is a gift. You have no right to give up hope. You can't give up hope on something that's not yours. 70 years later, he's dashing to hundreds of thousands of people. The rest is history. We have to realize our lives are not ours. Somewhere along the line, one of your grandfathers or grandmothers got married in such a chuppah with the courage to go on, when they had a Ruvain 2-day, when it didn't look like there was any reason to go on. And therefore, they're all vested, they're kaiches, and they're looking down at us. It's not our game. We have a choice to lose. We have no choice other than to go on.